I played Division I basketball at Colgate University.
National championship in 2000.
And over my 5 years in college, I learned so much about basketball and life. In this video, I'm going to share 31 lessons that I wish I knew before I got to college. When you're deciding where to play in college, it's really important to have your priorities straight. What is most important to you? Is it winning basketball games, academics, having a fun social life, the coaches, location of the school? There are so many factors that go into choosing a school, so make sure you know what's important to you before you go into making that life-changing decision. I think it's really important to go to a school where you are really wanted. And obviously it helps to go somewhere where you will play, but I think those two things are actually different. I had teammates in my time at Colgate who didn't get much playing time at all, but they were essential in the success of our program. And our coaches realized that. Having an impact doesn't always mean scoring a lot of points. You can have an impact on winning and culture without ever stepping on the court.
Biggest fear of the transfer rule. Is anybody going to learn how to fail?
The transfer rules have changed college basketball in so many ways. My advice is that while there are situations where transferring is the right decision for a player, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I could have left Colgate for my 5th year, but I decided to stay at my smaller school to have continued success. A lot of players who try to go to bigger schools or new situations don't end up helping their careers, they hurt them. So think long and hard before you decide to leave a solid situation for that shiny new school. The game of basketball allows you the opportunity to interact with people who are different from you. Your teammates might all have different upbringings, and yet you're all working together to achieve a common goal. Take advantage of this by having deep conversations and learning about the lives of your teammates outside of basketball. This is where you can forge lifelong bonds, and it will bring you closer as a team. College is a great time to build habits that will help you in life. One habit that is essential to learn early on is being on time. And being on time really means being early. It shows that you care about what you're doing and that you respect your teammates and coaches. Don't be the guy that shows up late. It's just not a good look. In sports, you aren't always going to be successful. College basketball really taught me how to fail. Whether it was going through intense shooting slumps, losing in a championship game, or missing big shots, I failed often in college. However, I realized that the best way to deal with failure is to get comfortable with it and learn from it. You should never shy away from failure. If anything, you should embrace it. Failure is an essential part of living a meaningful life. Sometimes your next big game is just one game away. Of course, it's easy to lose confidence if your team is losing or if you aren't playing well, but one thing college basketball has taught me is that things can shift in your favor at any time. You could go from having your worst shooting game on Wednesday to your best shooting game on Saturday. These ebbs and flows are part of a basketball season, so don't get too high or too low. You are going to have bad practices and bad games. If you are honest with yourself and embrace this reality beforehand, you won't get down on yourself as easily. Have some perspective and realize that one game does not make or break a career. I really struggled with this, especially my first couple years of college. My senior year, we started off 4-7, and the team was really struggling to find its identity. We started to get worried that this season, where expectations were really high, was turning into a disaster. Luckily, our coaches had a process over results mentality, understanding that over time, we would be successful if we did the right things day in and day out. Well, we went 16-2 in conference play and went back to March Madness that year, almost upsetting Wisconsin. Worry about the process, and the results will take care of themselves. In college, you'll have more free time than you realize, and one good way to spend that free time is by getting in extra workouts. Specifically, ask your coaches to work you out. You will become a better player, and it also shows them how much you care. My routine was to try and work out about 30 minutes before practice, usually with a coach. Find what works for you, but don't shy away from that extra work. Take advantage of watching a ton of film. As I got older, I watched more and more film, and it certainly made me a better basketball player. I especially think you should watch your own film after a game and with a coach. I would say 99% of coaches would gladly sit down with you and watch your game, so don't be afraid to ask. Sometimes you need to step away from basketball. In high school, I was a workhorse. I would almost get anxious if I took a day off. But as I got older, I realized how important taking off days are, especially for mental health. And in the spring or summer after your season, don't be afraid to take a few weeks off. Don't worry, you'll still be able to make a shot when you pick up the ball again. In the long run, it's good to step away from the game sometimes. I wish I visualized more in college. This means taking time before a game to run through what is going to happen in your head. You can visualize yourself making shots, or where you're going to be on the court when certain things happen throughout the game. The best visualizers might play a full game in their head before they even step on the court. This will help you to lock in, and it will prepare you when those situations arise. I really wish I was better at this throughout my college career. I was lucky to not have too many early practices at Colgate, but I know many college players who have them often. It might be easy to complain about them, but I actually think you should embrace them. Look at it like this: at least you aren't the only one who has to get up. You and your teammates are all in it together. In college, I was constantly watching basketball, and I think you should too, especially college basketball. Of course, it will make you a better player, but it's also just loads of fun to watch college basketball while you're playing in it. For instance, I played in the Patriot League, so I would try and watch as many Patriot League games as possible. And then obviously, do not miss the NCAA tournament, unless you're playing in it. The things in my basketball life that I would get the most anxious about usually turned out just fine. Whether that was a conditioning test my freshman year, or any of the 5 championship games I played in, or just having to go meet with my head coach. Don't suffer in anticipation of what might happen. I've realized that it doesn't make sense to worry about things that haven't even happened yet. Another thing I really regret when I was in college was not having a proper stretching routine. Now that I'm playing professionally, I stretch almost every day, and I take it really seriously. I wish I had done this in college because it helps with your recovery, injury prevention, and it's just good for overall health. Nobody wants to wake up at 30 and not be able to get out of bed because their back won't let them. Playing college basketball is so wonderful for so many reasons, and one of those reasons is that people are coming to your games to support you. One thing I think we did a great job with at Colgate was interacting with our fans. Whether that's right after a game, or if you see them in town at a local restaurant, say hello, start a conversation with them. It means more than you realize, and it's a way to show them that you care about their support, which will ultimately make them want to come to more games in the future. I wish I was more consistent with journaling when I was in college. Now I journal every day. Not only is it helpful getting your thoughts down on paper and working through things that might be bothering you, but also so many amazing things happen in college. If you write them down, you'll have those memories forever. You can look back in 10, 20, or 30 years and relive some of the best moments of your life. Routines are really important in life, but I think especially so in college. Time management can be really difficult for some people, especially if you're a college athlete. Getting into a routine or planning out your days in advance is a great way to make the best use of your time. You can try and wake up at the same time every morning, or allot a certain amount of time to studying every day. The fastest way to get behind and get overwhelmed when you're in college is to not have good time management skills. Social life in college has many upsides, but you need to find a balance between having fun and taking care of your health. Sometimes distractions are certainly good, and they're a normal part of the college experience, but don't let them take away from your overall health too much. Many students leave college with their bodies in terrible shape because they weren't cognizant of all the ways that they were hurting themselves. Along those lines, remember how important sleep is. Not just to basketball, but to doing well in classes too. If you consistently get good sleep, you will have a sharper mind and you will be able to be more productive. Don't take a good night's sleep for granted. At most colleges, there are going to be a lot of food options, some good and some bad. My parents did a really good job when I was growing up at teaching me what it meant to eat healthily. If you walk into your dining hall and you have the choice between chicken tenders and fries, or grilled chicken, rice, and vegetables, just try and make the right decision more often than not. Yes, of course it's okay to eat the fried stuff sometimes, but having maturity is realizing that you alone make the decisions for what you put into your body. You need to allow yourself time for mental and physical recovery. This might mean getting away from social media and any distractions and just going for a walk. It might mean blasting music in your room and doodling on a notepad. It might mean getting in an ice bath, even when you have no desire to. Listen to your mind and body, it will tell you what it needs. I was in college for 5 years, and yeah, just like everybody says, it went by like that. So do your best to live in the moment. And I know this is way harder to do in reality, but sometimes as you go about your day, take a moment to embrace your life and remember all the great things that are going on in it. I was incredibly lucky to have a random freshman year roommate who turned out to be one of my best friends. This probably won't happen to you, but my advice is to meet as many people outside of basketball as possible. It is really easy in college to stay in your little basketball bubble, but I think it's way more rewarding to meet people outside of basketball that bring different energy into your life. My freshman year of college, I joined a program at Colgate called Sidekicks. Basically, I was teamed up with a kid from the local elementary school, and we would spend time together once a week. Kevin was his name, and 5 years later, he and his family are really part of my extended family. As a college athlete, younger kids will naturally look up to you. Be a great role model and really try and get to know them. It will be one of the most rewarding things you do in college, for you and the kids. During my sophomore year at Colgate, me and my friend Simon started a radio show. When COVID hit later that year, we turned that radio show into our own podcast about basketball analytics. Try and find new passions and develop new skills outside of basketball when you're in college. It will help you so much as you get older. Don't be afraid to join a club or maybe just create something on your own. Really take advantage of your school's alumni network. If I'm being honest, I think college is more about the people you meet than what you actually learn in your individual classes. Meeting alumni and building relationships with them will strengthen your odds of having success in the future. Don't forget to call your family. I was really lucky to have parents who were able to come to most of my college basketball games. However, I still try to talk to them as much as possible on the phone. They want to know what's going on in your life, so don't forget to keep them updated. I know from my experience that it means the world to your parents when you give them a random call to give them an update on your life. Memento mori is this stoic idea that life is fragile. Basically, it can end at any time. I try to now use this philosophy in my basketball life. At any time, I could get injured and my basketball career might end. And that is completely out of my control. What is in my control is living with this in mind every day, so I don't take anything for granted. Push through the challenges, embrace the struggle, and bring passion and energy to life every single day.